Hello, I'm Anuradha Gokan. In today's session, we will learn about the life skill called problem solving. We will learn about the 5 whys method of finding the root cause of a problem. We will study design thinking as a tool to solve business problems. We will explore tools such as Ishikawa's fishbone analysis and visualization collaboration. We will review chauffeur knowledge and the biases we carry when solving the sunk cost fallacy. We will read about thought provoking cases such as the trolley problem. Let me start with the definition of the problem solving skill, which is second in the list of 10 life skills identified by the World Health Organization. Problem solving skill is the ability to determine the source of a problem and find an effective solution. Let me now hand it over to my team members to read out their chapters.
Hello, I am Aditya Gokarn. This article is about the 5 whys method of finding the root cause of a problem. This method was developed by a Japanese inventor, Sakichi Toyoda. His best known invention was the automatic power loom. Today, Toyoda is better known as the father of Kichiro Toyoda, founder of Toyota Motors. The 5 whys method is about asking why 5 times to reach the actual root cause. Let me share an example of how this works. Let's take the case of a tire supply company that had promised to deliver its tires to its customers 24 hours after the purchase request. The company found that the actual delivery was happening only after 3 days. They worked out the root cause of the delay by using the following method. First, the why or problem statement. We are not able to deliver tires within 24 hours. Why? Because the supplier has insufficient stock. Why? Because the supplier imports the tires and the cargo boats are delayed. Why? Because the cargo boats are waiting for more freight customers to fill their ports. Why? Because there are fewer and fewer freight customers. By doing the 5 whys, the company found out that the cargo ships had difficulty finding customers. Based on this finding, they could work out a suitable solution such as setting new expectations to their customers, finding a new supplier, or finding a new means of transportation. This method forces people to think deeply rather than providing flimsy excuses. This method is now part of the Toyota production system, Kaizen, lean manufacturing, and Six Sigma. Here's a humorous example of 5 whys. You're on your way home from work and your car stops in the middle of the road. Why did your car stop? Because it ran out of gas. Why did it run out of gas? Because I didn't buy any gas on my way to work. Why didn't you buy any gas this morning? Because I didn't have any money. Why did you have any money? Because I lost it all last night in a poker game. Why did you lose your money in last night's poker game? Because I'm not very good at bluffing when I don't have a good hand. Let me end this chapter with a quote from Edward Hodnett. If you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right answers.
Hello, I'm Anil Gokan. This article is about design thinking. Design thinking approach is defining solutions after a deep study of users' lives and their unmet needs. The first example of design thinking can be found in the learning by doing design approach by the early 20th century chair designers Charles and Ray Eames. The next milestone for design thinking was in 1969 when American economist Herbert Simon proposed design as a way of thinking. Design thinking is a 5-step process. The first step is called the empathize phase. In this phase, we study the human needs of all stakeholders, namely customers, employees, and society. In the second step, the define phase, we analyze the data generated from the empathize phase and define the problem statement. Here's a real life example from a coffee machine maker whose sales had stagnated. They found that 80% of the users want a smaller machine that can brew 1 or 2 cups of coffee at a time. The next step is called the ideate phase. In this phase, we brainstorm and come out with multiple product designs. The prototype phase follows the ideate phase. In this phase, we create prototypes based on the ideas generated. The coffee machine company developed several versions of small coffee espresso machines. Thereafter, all these prototypes were tested by user panels in the phase called the test phase. Based on the user panel's inputs, the prototypes were repeatedly improved and retested. This is how design thinking is applied to solve a product design problem. Let me now share with you another story about design thinking. This story is about Pirate Ship, an MRI scanner machine created by Doug Dietz for GE. Doug found that some children were intimidated by the hulking look and whirring sounds of the MRI machines. Therefore, they had to be sedated before scanning. To create an exciting experience for kids, he designed the scanner to look like a pirate ship. He also decorated the room with characters from the adventure series. The entire MRI experience became playtime for the kids. Kids loved the new experience and parents were relieved. The sedation rate went down from 80% to 10%. Thus, both hospitals and parents benefited commercially. Let me end this chapter with a quote from Roger Levine. Too often, we give our children answers to remember rather than problems to solve.
Hello, I am Hiren Divgi. Today I want to share with you my learning about Ishikawa's fishbone diagram. At the Faculty of Engineering, Tokyo, created this problem-solving tool in 1968. The fishbone diagram is a visual tool used for root cause analysis. The fishbone diagram consists of the head of the fish to write the problem and its skeletal bones to write down the causes of the problem. Here's a typical workflow of how a fishbone diagram is created. Write the problem in the head of the fish. List all causes and group them into relevant categories. There are different categories to choose from. Example, Wright's 5M, man, material, machines, methods, and money. Or McCarthy's 4P, place, price, product, promotion. Or 4S for service industry, surroundings, suppliers, systems, skills, etc. Feed all the categories with causes under each main skeletal bone to get a visual view of the problem. Identify action plans for each bone. Let me share with you a story of how Ishikawa diagram was used in a service failure in a hotel. The client manager assigned a smoking room to a non-smoking customer by mistake. To make matters worse, the customer was given a wrong key. This is how they addressed the problem. The problem written in the head of the fish was service failure. The model used for this exercise was the 4S model used in the service industry. The first skeletal bone was surroundings. Under this, the following causes were listed. Upgrading is not possible. Rooms are full. No arrangement with other hotels to shift the customer. The second bone was suppliers. The team found nothing to write about under this category, at least in the first round of brainstorming. The third bone was systems. The causes list under this category were no feature to capture customer preferences. Example, smoking, non-smoking, vegetarian, vegan, non-vegetarian, etc. No processes available to address the problem of how to manage if all rooms are full, or how to compensate for workplace mistakes. Under the final skeletal bone, skills, they listed lack customer centricity, no culture of saying sorry, etc. Once they put down all causes in the fishbone diagram, they could clearly see which area to focus on. Hope this gives you the basics of the Ishikawa diagram. Let me end this chapter with a quote from Henry J. Kaiser. Problems are opportunities in workloads.
Hello, I am Jitendra Divgi. Today I want to summarize two TED Talks on this topic for you. The first talk is titled, Tell Me How You Make Toast. As a part of this study, Tom asked participants to draw on paper how to make toast. Most of them drew a sliced loaf of bread, a toaster, and a popped up slice. The picture had notes: bread, toaster, slice, and links, arrows showing the connections. The next part of the study was to use sticky notes instead of paper. What he found was that people drew many more notes than in the previous exercise because of the flexibility of moving the notes. In the next part, Tom made groups and asked them to collaborate and draw the design. The team created a great design building on each other's ideas. In essence, drawing helps us understand better, movable cards produce better models, and group thinking produces the most comprehensive models. In summary, collaborative visualization brings out dramatic results. Now I would like to summarize an educational video about the famous trolley problem, introduced in 1967 by Philippa Foot, champion of Aristotle ethics. Imagine you're watching a trolley traveling down the tracks straight towards five workers who can't escape. You're standing next to a switch that will divert the trolley onto a second track and save them. But the second track has one worker on it. What do you do in this case? Do you sacrifice one person to save five? 90% responded in the survey that it's okay to let one worker die to save five. But when they were asked, what if you are asked to push someone on the track to stop the trolley? Would you sacrifice that one person to save the lives of five? People voted against this. They felt that deliberately causing someone's death is different than allowing them to die. Thomas Hornigold, a young student from Oxford, did an interesting survey. His topic was, if a similar problem is faced by a driverless car, what should the car do? The most important insight from the study was that when designing artificial conscience, people should be part of the design process. Let me end this chapter with a quote from Einstein. If I had only 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and only 5 minutes finding the solution.
Hello, I'm Padmini Divgi. Today I want to summarize two books on problem-solving skills. The first book, Problem Solving 101, is by Ken Watanabe, ex-McKinsey consultant. Watanabe teaches us problem solving using 5 characters. He wants us to become the problem-solving kid. These are the 5 characters. Miss Sai, I'll never be able to do that. What if I fail? Mr. Critic, what a stupid idea. I told you that it won't work. Miss Dream, I want to write a novel. I'm an idea person. Don't bother me with the nitty-gritty details. Mr. Go-Getter, I'll never give up. I've got to try harder. Everything is about execution. The problem-solving kid, okay, I'm going to accomplish this within 3 months. This is a problem. So what really caused this? Watanabe then gives a simple 4-step process of problem solving. Understand the current situation, identify the root cause of the problem, develop an effective action plan, execute until the problem is solved. The second book I want to summarize is The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli, ex-MD of Swiss Air subsidiaries. Rolf says that the greatest challenges we face when solving problems is our own mind. He says we are prone to many biases and make predictable mistakes. Dobelli writes about 99 such biases that make us err. Being aware of these will make you a better problem solver. Here are the 4 top of the 99 errors. Social proof, herd mentality, mindlessly following the route set by predecessors, sunk cost fallacy, well explained in the Vietnam War story. The US did not want to retreat just because they felt that it would be a mistake to give up after so many American lives were sacrificed. Reciprocity. The supplier of screws invites a potential customer to join him at a big sports game. A month later, it's time to order screws. The buyer places an order with his new friend because of the desire of not being in debt. Contrast effect. People will walk an extra 10 minutes to save $10 on food. The same people, however, would not walk 10 minutes to save $10 on a $1,000 suit. Let me end this chapter with a quote from Jim Rohn. To solve any problem, here are 3 questions to ask yourself. What could I do? What could I read? And who could I ask?
Today I would like to summarize 2 movies on problem solving. The first movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is a visual threat of fudge mountains, candy trees, and marshmallows shrubs. It's a movie that teaches children the importance of value in life. Willy Wonka is the owner of a famous chocolate factory. His problem is, how do I find my successor? Willy Wonka sets up elaborate creative contests to get participants to reveal their true characters. Finally, he selects Charlie Bucket as his successor. Charlie comes from a poor background. He never complains, nor does he accept charity, not even from his family. Each night after school, he dutifully spends time with his bedridden grandparents. What do we learn from this movie? We learn that problem solving can become an incredibly creative process. Skip version 1.0. You can learn from someone else's experience. Don't let careless people set the agenda. If you are an Oompa Loompa invisible to your boss, move on. The second movie I want to summarize is Rudy, based on the real life of Daniel Rutiger, football player and motivational speaker. Rudy dreamed of playing on the University of Notre Dame football team. The obstacles that stood in his way were his bad academic record and short stature. The movie is about how he solved these problems. Poor grades problem. Rudy realized that he had dyslexia, which was the reason for his poor grades. So he worked with tutors to overcome his dyslexia. He then added community service to his resume, which earned him additional credits. He discovered that he could enter a smaller college first and then try for a transfer to Notre Dame through local priests. By following all these steps, he was able to secure admissions to Notre Dame. The next step was to be part of the team. Physical stature problem. Rudy focused on being the best team member by helping out other members. His determination, persistence, and heart eventually won over the coaches, and they agreed to let Rudy be a part of practice squad. The rest is history. Rudy continued to inspire thousands of people by sharing his story of how he solved seemingly an impossible problem. Let me end this chapter with a quote from John Foster Dulles. The measure of success is not whether you have a tough problem to deal with, but whether it's the same problem you had last year.
Hello, I'm Swapna Narayan. Today I will summarize 2 mythological stories on problem solving. The first story is about Lord Narasimha from Hindu mythology. Lord Brahma, pleased with the demon king Hiranyakaship's prayers, asked the king what he wished for. Hiranyakaship asked for immortality. Brahma agreed on conditional immortality. he asked Hiranyakashipu to set the conditions. Hiranyakashipu defined a detailed description to cover all eventualities. Brahma granted the boon. Armed with this boon, Hiranyakashipu went on a rampage, harassing everyone, gods and men alike. When the gods rushed to Lord Vishnu for help, Vishnu asked them to find a loophole in the boon. The gods went through each eventuality specified by Hiranyakashipu. The first condition was that Hiranyakashipu could be killed by neither a human being nor an animal. One of the gods suggested that Vishnu could take a new avatar as Narasimha, half man, half lion. He would then be neither human nor animal. Once this idea was accepted, others started building on it. They finalized an action plan. Vishnu as Narasimha should come out of a pillar in Hiranyakashipu's palace, not from a door or a ceiling. During dusk, neither day nor night, Narasimha should drag Hiranyakashipu to the threshold of the house, neither inside nor outside of the palace, and put him on the lap, neither ground nor sky, and kill the demon using nails, not a weapon. This was how Hiranyakashipu was killed. What can we learn from this story? Groups working together generate effective solutions. One useful insight provides fuel to generate more ideas. The second story is about Alexander the Great and the Gordian knot. As the story goes, Alexander the Great marched his army into the Phrygian capital of Gordium. He encountered an ancient wagon, its yoke tied with several knots, all so tightly entangled that it was impossible to see how they were fastened. The Phrygian tradition held that any man who unraveled the knots would rule all of Asia. Alexander wrestled with the knot for some time. Finding no success, he stepped back, drew his sword, and sliced the knot in half with a single stroke. What do we learn from this story? Gordian knot is problem solving by bold action. When we challenge assumptions, we arrive at many creative solutions. Sometimes complex problems have simple solutions. Let me end this chapter with a quote from John Dewey. A problem well stated is a problem half solved.
We hope that our efforts helped you understand the basics of problem solving skill. A regular listening to this audio will be our reward. Thank you.